How you going? It's about time Aussie put another beef in the pie and caused a bit more grief. So I've had to write some bloody notes down. I was just watching a documentary on Al Jazeera about the fires that Australia's been suffering. I don't know what date it was published on. Doesn't really care. Matter it's out there. Matter you people need to know the truth. So on Al Jazeera we had two apparent well-versed and well-educated Aussies. One was a Ketan Joshi, who's living overseas somewhere in another country. He's apparently an energy and climate communicator. Well, shit, I can do that. Bloody sunny today. A few days ago it was raining. There you go, just communicated to you. I don't really know what a energy climate communicator does. Well, they do report on what's happened already and what's been. Yeah, well, anyway. And we had a Sam Madden, who's a book writer and climate activist, and you can see where this story's going already, can't you? You got two of the most top-notch Aussies out there that have no frickin' idea what the hell is going on in their life, let alone know what's going on in the world. Come on, wait till you hear the gosh shit they come up with. Anyway, Al Jazeera was asking them about the bushfires that Australia's been seeing and how they're now mega bushfires. I don't know if you call a bushfire a mega bushfire. A bushfire is a bushfire. It's going to burn what it needs to burn. Come on. This is Australia. It's not bloody New Zealand. I don't even know if New Zealand has a bushfire. But anyway, we do. That's part of our world. We don't have volcanoes that are active, so we may as well have bloody bushfires. And if it's not a bushfire, we'll get a flood. It's Australia. Get bloody used to it. Getting worse over the years? Nah, what a crock. Not getting worse over the years. It's just, Sam sort of summed it up the best. She said the government blames it on these greenies who refused to allow backburning, which they did for many years, and then all of a sudden all that tinder that was underneath those trees that hasn't been burnt for a decade, whoop, up in smoke she goes. Puts a lot of heat into those fires and they travel very quick. And they're talking about the height of the fire being, 100 foot in the air. Well, they've got a 60 to 80 foot gum tree to climb off, so of course they're going to be 60, 100 foot in the air. That's normal. That's what bushfires do. They climb. If fire goes up, it doesn't go down. Like, bloody hell. Anyway. Takes a bloody tradie to put them straight, I tell you. So, Sam's carrying on like this is the doomsday of the world, having bushfires in Australia. Apparently it's a day-to-day reality for Sam. This is Sam Madden. It's a day-to-day reality for Sam. So she woke up this morning, there's a bushfire. No, there's not. There might have been a few months ago a bushfire, but once a bushfire's been through, there ain't nothing left to burn. Day to day, my ass. It's not a day-to-day reality for any fucking Australian to have bushfires. You might get one once a year. If it happens once a year, it'll only be a little one once a year. You might get one in 10 years. Oh, that one's going to burn. That one's going to burn a lot. Because there's 10 years of shit there that's got to go. It's just the way that nature cleans up its forest. It has to burn. What do? Pile it up until it's 10 stories tall? The hell out of here. These people are full of shit. So she's carrying on about, down in Melbourne and Sydney, they were told to put masks on and not leave the house. And next sentence she's saying, we've been given evacuation orders after not being told to leave your house. Now you're being told to leave your house. And then they're going about, how the government can't protect them. Well, how the hell is the government going to protect everybody? It's not going to happen. We have limited resources. The biggest fire we've ever had was during World War II, where the women went out there and fought the fire. And it burned millions and millions of acres because all the men were away at war. It's not like it's an unusual thing. It's not a new thing. It's just all this bullshit green stuff where they tell you that, if you burn, you can't burn the forest because, well, you're going to get rubbish build up and eventually something's going to set it on fire. Now we're talking about the misinformation and the arsonists. Like they said, oh, 200 arsonists, but only 24 were arrested. Well, that doesn't mean there wasn't 200, and who gives a shit if it was 24? Reality is, it takes one arsonist. Just one. Just one can devastate an entire area. And I'm not talking local suburb. I'm talking an entire state. One arsonist on a good hot day with a good strong wind, gonna do some good strong damage. Especially if you plan it when the winds change from a, say, a westerly to a southern westerly. You know, you've just changed a fire that could be 30 kilometres long, and now you've made a 30 kilometre front. You know, it's bullshit what they're saying. I don't give a shit if it's 1 or 24 arsonists. If there's one arsonist, that's a problem. And it is a problem here, because you get people who go, oh, and especially some of the arsonists are bloody farmers, you know, because they've got all these weeds through their property that they've got to pay to get rid of. But if there's a fire in the paddock next door, well, how about we knock a fire up here and burn this off while it's going through, and we don't have to pay for it anymore, do we? Come on, farmers, you know, I'm not bloody stupid, I've seen it happen. Anyway, I'm not saying farmers set all the bushfires on fire, not by any means, you know, but they've got to burn, and they're not allowed to burn because there's a fire ban on. Talking about the fire ban, just for a second. Now, Al Jazeera News came up and showed on their video how serious Australia takes their fire matters. And I can tell you, here, we take it bloody serious. But Al Jazeera thinks, talk about fake bloody news, Al Jazeera, talk about doing a documentary on fake bloody news, they show a footage of a gimmick fire register at a tourist spot, where it says, you know, how hot the fire, how bad the fire is going to be that day, right up until you have to shake hands to say goodbye, more or less, and then move to Hawaii to get out of the fire and keep up on the cricket score. Come on, that's not a fucking fire bloody board, that's a gimmick for tourists. We've got one for flies too. If you get them on your face, there's a couple. If you get them in your mouth, there's a lot. Come on, it's bullshit. That's not a real fireboard, by the way. It's a gimmick. And Al Jazeera, for saying that you're talking about all the fake misinformation and fake news, you just did it. You just presented fake news, because that's not the fireboards that people register on. And those two bloody Aussies, this Ketan and bloody Sam, you should have picked her up on it and said, that's not the fireboard. That's a gimmick. But no, you played along with it and went, oh yeah, no, they're not serious over there in Australia. They're not serious here at all about, you know, what's going on with the fires and climate change. And, you know, they won't ban coal and gas drilling because, you know, it's going to affect the economy, and you know, they're going to keep the jobs of all that going, even though they cause fires. Well, gas and drilling and coal digging doesn't cause bloody bushfires, you idiots. It's not about, how do you get onto coal and gas coming from bloody bushfires? You bloody idiots. Tell you what, no wonder we lost the Emu War with people like you on board. Bloody hell. You know, then they were talking about how, going back to how it was a day-to-day reality. Okay, here's the day-to-day reality of a bushfire, right? You have a bushfire and it burns through the bush. Simple. Anyone can envisage that in their head. Just imagine it for a minute, right? You have this hot fire burning through the bush. No different than when you throw sticks on your barbie. Here, look, I'll show you. This is what it winds up like, right? Put a match to that and see how far you go. Once you've had a bloody bushfire, another one can't come through tomorrow. It's burnt. It's done. It's moved on, or it's gone out, one of the two, or we put it out. But either way, it's not coming back. And it's not going to be back next week. If it came back next year, there's bugger all to burn, so it's only going to be a little one. And if it come back in 10 years and you did nothing between that time and 10 years, well, you're going to get the same again. That's just how it is. We got a backbone. That's part of Australia. We know that. Yeah, but then they go on about the Aboriginals. The Aboriginals tell you, you got a backbone. People told us way back in the beginning, you got a backbone. If you don't backbone, you'll burn everything down around you. You know, it's not science to bloody work that out. Tell you, when you got to face this load of shit, it's just unbelievable. And then this Sam Madden, she shows a video of her walking around some farmlands there where all the grass is dead, which is, well, that's a normal sight for any bloody day of the week in summer. And she goes, you can hear the grass turning to dust under my feet. Well, bloody hell, Sam. I mean, I've been around. I've been all over. Throw a dart at New South Wales, Victoria, I've done it. Been all the way up to the top of Queensland and in as far as it goes, into the Northern Territory. And I mean, I went in the summer when it was dry as shit and hot as hell. I walked on grass and you hear the crackling of dry leaves and dry grass, but it ain't turning to bloody dust. That's bloody fake news again, you lying shit. Seriously, it wasn't turning to dust. If it turned to dust, we'd have nothing but a desert, you idiot. This is just ridiculous coming on national TV. Of all things, Al Jazeera talking about fake news, misinformation. You lot projected it. You lot carried it on your own tangent, on your anti-climate bloody bullshit, but you climbed it, you presented it, and you spoke about it like it was Bible, and it's bloody not. This is rubbish. Pisses me off seeing this shit. So we had just reading my notes here for a second. We talked. They brought up the thing about the government mentioning eco-terrorists. Okay, yeah, they're real. Yep. If they can cause a problem to make a bigger issue for the government, by God, they'll do it. I can bet probably one of them 24 was one of them, or maybe all of them. But I bet you one of them was for sure, because that's what they do. Climate denial by Sam. No one's in climate denial, Sam. Climate changes. It's not about being climate denial. I hate people who talk about this climate denial. It's not climate denial. What it is opening your eyes and seeing that it's happened before and it'll happen again. And it's not like they're getting worse than before. They're the same as before. The only times fires get hotter is when that rubbish hasn't been burnt off underneath it. Of course it's going to be a hot fire. Look what happens in California. They have a hot fire, they didn't burn off, look what happened. It happens in Africa, if they didn't burn off, look what happens. It doesn't matter what country you're in, it's happened all over the world. So, this rubbish about it's all climate change that's caused a big fire, no it's not. Mismanagement. Mismanagement causes big fires, and mismanagement came because the Greens pushed through Parliament that we weren't a backbone anymore because some silly little fussy turd said I don't like the smell of smoke while I'm sitting in my lounge room on a Friday afternoon. That's what caused the big fires. No backbone. You live in Australia. Might as well be a smoker. Why not? You're going to breathe smoke anyway. And in fact, most fires that are caused when there's no rain and it's just dry, desolate, brown grass is caused by cars. The soot build up in the exhaust of cars comes out bloody hot. It flies off the side of the road when it gets blowing out your exhaust, especially from people who drive around town all day and all of a sudden say, oh, I want to take a day trip. They've never taken a day trip in 3 years and they want to take a big day trip out, and when you start doing longer kilometres on your car in one run, all that rubbish that's in your exhaust gets blown out, gets on the side of the road, starts a fire. That's what most of it is, and that's scientifically proven. It's a load of shit if you think anything different. You know, yep, storms cause fires, broken glass cause fires, arsonists cause fires. There's a lot of issues that cause fires, but most of them usually come from the back exhaust of our car. Don't start about the bloody cigarettes. For a cigarette to start a fire, because a lot of people have heard it on the news before, all these smokers are causing these bushfires. That's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Maybe one or two, maybe one. Maybe. It takes certain particular elements like the barometer and the angle of the cigarette and the dryness of the grass and There was something to do with temperature. There's a specific temperature and humidity with the cigarette on a particular angle to start a fire with a cigarette. I know it can be done, I've seen it done, but it took a lot to set up to happen, so it's not like it can't be done. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, I'm just saying it's not very often. Most of them are caused by exhausted cars. And then Al Jazeera, a bit more fake bullshit for you. Al Jazeera came out and said, we're reading on the website there about the bushland that was being burnt, and they read about the snakes and the kangaroos and the koalas and all the animals, but it didn't mention Aboriginal people. Yeah, Aussies know where I'm going with this. Seriously? Didn't mention Aboriginal people? Are you for real? Is the world still stuck in 1780 for real? Let me educate you, Al Jazeera. The Aboriginal people today in the areas that you're talking about, especially that were on fire, are not nomadic. They do not live in the bush. They do not hunt wild animals in the bush, and that's all they do. They live in our cities, they live in houses. They are very unique people. They have a very strong will, and they are very capable to live like everybody else lives. They don't have to live in the bush. I'm sure the elders still know how to live in the bush, but a lot of them don't live in the bush anymore, so that's why there's no mention of them. They're not out there wearing their thongs running around hunting kangaroos in the western suburbs of Sydney. That's just, yeah, that's a load of shit. Look, I've travelled a lot around Australia, and I've been to a lot of Aboriginal communities, and I've seen empty humpies where they've sat down and had, I don't know, maybe smoke and a drink, maybe go fishing, maybe have a party, maybe even do a corroboree if they want to. I don't know what they're doing with these little humpies on the side of the river, but I've seen them there. But I used to build humpies by the river when I was there, so I didn't have to sit in the bloody sun. Could be they were just fishing. But anyway, every community I've been to had houses. I didn't see them living under gum trees. I seen them sleeping on the deck of a house or walking down the street. They're not living in the bush, you idiot, is what I'm trying to tell you. You know, of course, out west, some Aboriginals will go walk about through the bush, or up in towards Darwin way they do. And I'm probably sure in the Pilbara area and Kimberleys they probably do. And good on them. I'm proud of them for doing it. Someone needs to keep their heritage alive. But west of Sydney, come on. You'd have to go all the way over to South Australia before you find any that might go walkabout. They certainly won't go walkabout from bloody Sydney, I'll tell you now. What the hell are you thinking? So I just thought I'd put it out there. And then they got onto how when these fires are roaring, how they, of course, if you want to look at it scientifically, they produce their own climate above the fire, and that creates a cloud, a dry cloud. And from that dry cloud you then get dry lightning, which hits the ground and starts another fire. That's what you're focused on? You're focused on maybe a dry lightning will start a fire. Maybe. That's not guaranteed. You're not thinking about the amount of ash and bark that's flying up into the air, being carried by the wind, landing 10 kilometres away and starting a fire. You're not thinking about that, are you? You never mentioned it once in your theory. All you talked about was, dry lightning, and it's happened more often, every time there's a fire there's dry lightning, every time there's a volcano there's dry lightning. It's just part of nature, you idiot. Like, I don't know where Al Jazeera found these couple, I really don't. But for Al Jazeera to be talking about, we're talking about the fake news and all the conspiracy behind fucking bushfires, and then you go out and make your own conspiracy and your own bullshit and about bushfires. Like, talk about two wrongs. Look, be honest, yep, Australia government can't battle every bushfire all at once. It just can't. It doesn't have the resources. But when there's a massive bushfire happening, they take resources from Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia, Northern Territory, Western Australia. They move them all into the one area. and they give it a good flogging, and they keep flogging it until they've got it. But they do the best they can. But you can't expect the government to save every bloody thing in the way of that fire. As you can't blame the government for trying to stop water. Water's going to go where it wants to go. When we have floods, people suffer. That's part of life. It doesn't matter where you live here. It doesn't matter what you do here. You are living on a live planet. You can't control it. Stop trying to pretend you can. Well, that's just me being a tradie telling you what I reckon it's all about, but to be honest, I think this Al Jazeera channel, you just failed and messed up on this one, Sunshine, because you just promoted fake news of two idiots who spoke about their impression of what they think the world's doing. You know, they called our government anti-climatists. No, they're not. They're not anti-climatists at all. Just the things that you relevate to anti-climate have nothing to do with the argument you're having. We're talking about misinformation on bushfires and you're talking about coal and gas. Seriously, you're just using the platform. Oh, our veggies are going to go up 50%. Our veggies are going up 50% anyway. It doesn't matter. The more people get high pay rises, the more our prices of veggies go up. Because they've got to pay more to get them farmed, they've got to pay more to get them trucked, they've got to pay more in the shopping centre. Everything goes up because everyone wants a pay rise. Every time you get a pay rise, everything goes up twice. So if you get 3%, things go up 6%. That's how it works. There's no science behind it. Stop asking for pay rise and we'll stop getting price hikes. Simple as that. You know? I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with this world, but something clearly is, and it ain't the environment. I think it's the ants living on it that just want to have their say and be famous, I guess. Well, I'm having my say, and this is my limited fame that I'm going to get, but that's an Aussie point of view. I'm telling you how it is. Like and share.